Boomer coming to you live for the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are on the free Odyssey app, good Thursday morning. I had a chance to watch the Hard Knocks episode that you guys were talking about yesterday. And yes, there was some interesting stuff in there between John Mara and Joe Shane and everybody else that is a part of this Giants scouting and front office department, football operations. And they're putting together a roster. And they got Brian Burns in there. They signed the 2 offensive linemen. They replace Saquon Barkley with Devin Singletary. We know, even though it hasn't been shown in Hard Knocks yet, that they draft Malik Neighbors. They've got Kayvon Thibodeau. They got Dexter Lawrence. I mean, they've got some players on this team. I mean, we don't think Daniel Jones is the greatest quarterback in the world, but they got some players on this team. So I take a look at Pro Football Focus, and I know some people really rely on Pro Football Focus, and there's others that think, I don't know if I really believe in their analytics, and I don't know where they're coming up with this. It's too many numbers, not enough eye test. But they put out a ranking of the NFL rosters yesterday.
Uh-oh.
Full ranking of the NFL rosters.
1 through 32?
Yeah, so we're just talking ranking of players in their world. 1 through 32. The New York Giants?
Can I guess?
Yeah, go for it.
With the additions that they have, 2 new offensive linemen.
By the way, good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, G. Good
right,
to have you back.
Right,
we're diving right in, man. I love
right
this.
in.
This is like hardcore sports talk.
Yeah.
You obviously
Hardcore.
You obviously saw this, and you can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, I was shocked by this. I
was shocked.
I was.
So that means they're either in the top 10 or they're in the bottom 10.
I think it's fair to say, yeah.
They're either in the top 10 or the bottom 10.
Shocked.
If you are shocked.
Did you guys see this, by the way? Because I'd like to see what your blind opinion on this as well before
I did
Boomer
not.
guesses. So you didn't see this. All right. So if I'm telling you that I am shocked by the result of where Pro Football Focus has the Giants when they're ranking their roster, where do you think they have them?
I'm going to say 30 out of 32.
Okay.
If you're shocked, because I think you think the Giants suck, so I'm going to say 15.
Yeah, it's like, see, this is the thing. Shocked because of what they've done this offseason with adding those 2 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Brian Burns, drafting Malik Neighbors. I mean, they have basically added 4, and Devin Singletary, by the way, who is a good back, is a really good back. He may not be the burst or have the burst that Saquon Barkley has, but he's a really good, solid running back. So I'm telling you, they upgraded pretty much at every position that they've attended to, with the exception maybe of safety and a running back.
Well, corner.
Yeah, but they got some young guys coming back from last year, and they have a new defensive coordinator. All right, so you're shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie, you said 15. That's in the middle. That's not shocking. Shocking would be like 9th or 10th. Shocking would be 28th to 32. I'm gonna say it's a lot. I'm gonna say 28th.
All right, so you and Fleegs are on the right track. I'm shocked because I can't believe how bad it is.
Oh.
It's 31 out of 32. The only worst roster is the Denver Broncos. Now, I would have been more shocked if the Jets were in the top 5, but I'm still shocked. To me, the Giants.
You're talking about the Giants, not the Jets.
Sorry. Jets are in the top 5. That's why I said that. Freudian slip.
Okay.
The Jets are actually number 4 on this list of rosters. So I would be very shocked if the Giants were in the top 5. More shocked than I would be when I saw 31. But I thought the Giants would be somewhere in the 21 to 25 range. 31 out of 32?
According to Pro Football Focus.
Right. Which, what does it really matter? We don't know.
I know one thing that my former colleague, J.J. Watt, was not.
He doesn't like.
He
Pro
was not a
Football
supporter of Pro Football Focus.
But-
I'll keep it at that.
Right, but Chris Collinsworth is the one who was part of starting it.
Yes,
and we obviously respect him and his football knowledge and everything else.
And they try really hard to get the right people looking at the right tape and trying to make decisions, and then spitting out the data, and then it's amazing how many people in college use it and how many people in the NFL use it. So it is a useful tool that many people do rely on for quality and accurate information.
Yeah, now we watch John Mara and we see them watching the TV screens, and we see that they are tuned in to some of the stuff that happens around the league when it comes to a news and information standpoint because they have it on in Joe Shane's office. They have the NFL Network.
NFL Network,
right.
yeah.
So they've got that on. Now, Joe Shane also said he doesn't listen to sports talk radio. He couldn't tell you what channel it was because that's more opinion-based as opposed to news-based. I wonder, as tuned in as they seem to be with certain things, like does John Mara look at this and go, what? 31 out of 32? The New England Patriots, the Carolina Panthers, the Washington Commanders, the Arizona Cardinals, the Indianapolis, all these teams have better rosters than what we have, and this is your third year? What? I mean, how is that even possible? Now, they may not agree with it, but at the same time, that's bad. That's bad.
That is it's pretty eye-opening. I didn't think they would be ranked that low, but look, it's a chip on the shoulder spot. If you ask me, it's a motivational spot. I mean, I guarantee you the players have seen this. I guarantee you this will be something that, Brian Daboll will use as motivational forces to try to hopefully get this team really focused in. But it also goes back to, the quarterback position. Like, where is Daniel Jones ranked in their eyes when it comes to that position, being that is the most important position? Because I'm assuming that they take the entire roster and they attach a data point to that particular player that's playing that position, and they probably do it by the most important positions going forward. So the most important position is quarterback. The second most important position would be left tackle. So left tackle, they got one of the top left tackles in football.
Yes, they do in Andrew Thomas. Yep.
You would think at defensive tackle that they are stacked there with Dexter Lawrence.
100%.
You would think at edge rusher, they have two guys now. Kayvon Thibodeau continues to grow, and they have an established pass rusher in Brian Burns. Mm-hmm. You would think that those are pretty good.
Yeah.
The Illuminor signing and the Runyon signing. Illuminor was one of the most sought-after offensive linemen in free agency, and Runyon was also a sought-after player, and they were fighting with the Jets for him.
That is right.
And one of the reasons that, they walked into Joe Shane's office and said, we're probably going to have to go a little bit higher than what the Jets are offering simply because of Hackett and Rodgers. And you can see Joe Shane exasperated going, what?
Yeah.
I have to now negotiate against friendships?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, and that is certainly part of it. And it's interesting in watching that episode. And by the way, too, we know in talking about Daniel Jones, we always sort of knew, but it is hammered home in the preview of the next episode that they wanted to trade up. There were multiple guys they had their eyes on. There's a video in the preview of Brian Daboll being asked, is Jaden Daniels a guy you would trade up to get? And Brian Daboll said yes. We know that they like Drake May, and they would have traded up if the price were right, and you would have had Daniel Jones having to have a top 3 pick sitting behind him, or maybe even starting if he wasn't completely healthy, and we would have had another one of these guys come in here that would have been potentially the future of the quarterback position for one of these two teams. So they wanted to do it. It just was too pricey for them, but they were trying very, very hard to move up.
For Daniel Jones, it's going to be a tough year anyway, and there are going to be a lot of eyeballs on him. There are going to be high expectations for him, but had they been able to move up and draft, it would have just been miserable. It would have been horrific, because whether it be Jaden Daniels or whether it be Drake May, I think more Jaden Daniels than Drake May, but if they would have gotten Jaden Daniels, it would have been, the fans would have been all over the Giants to play that kid. And it would have just been untenable for Daniel Jones. They would have had to move Daniel Jones, I think. I don't necessarily know that in this situation that they could have coexisted. I don't know how you could have. It's one thing to bring a guy in when you got a guy that's 38 years old and maybe he's towards the end of his career, kind of like what Atlanta's doing with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. But I can't even fathom what that would have looked like had they been able to make the trade, and would they have kept Daniel Jones? That would have been the big question for me. And I would have been advocating you gotta move Daniel out of here, because
I don't know how hard that would have been with the contract and the out at the end of the year and the dead cap and all that stuff. It might have been tricky, but Yeah, that would have been very, very awkward. Obviously.
I kind of wish this was being done a few years back when they were discussing the Daniel Jones contract extension. I would have loved to have seen some of those conversations going on around the offseason, much like we're seeing now about how they're trying to acquire free agents. We're going to go through the draft with them. And you got to realize that Daniel Jones is a human being. So he's got friends, he's got family, they hear things. They probably go to him and say, could you believe what they were saying? Could you believe the Giants were looking to trade up? Well, why do you think the Giants are looking to trade up? All this crap that he's probably had to deal with this entire offseason. So maybe he comes back stronger for all of it. I think maybe some of this is also fodder to get a fire lit under him.
Sure.
I mean,
it
great guy.
Worked the first time.
Hey, dude, great guy, awesome person, probably highly respected in the locker room, but not exactly what Shane and Dable really want at their quarterback position in terms of personality types.
Yeah, and they are now stuck with him for another year, and their jobs may be on the line because of it. And John Mara obviously was not happy about the Saquon thing. I don't know if he's gotten over that by now or not. But, I think John Mara was wrong on all of that. And I know that it hurts to see a guy that you drafted who was popular go to a division rival, but you could not go the extra mile for Saquon Barkley. You couldn't do it.
I also think that part of him saying that he was our most popular player, I don't really want to lose him, I'm going to be sick to my stomach watching him in Philadelphia, I kind of feel like that was all set up for the Giant fan to see that the owner felt that way.
Okay, but you don't think he really felt that way?
I think he probably does feel that way, but they wanted to make sure that everybody knows that he feels that way.
Okay. I mean, for what reason? Were Giant fans really all that upset that Saquon Barkley left?
It's not so much that he left, it's where he went.
Yeah, I know.
And if he goes on to have, like a combined 2,000-yard season receiving and rushing, I think you're going to have exactly what John Mara kind of was pointing out to Joe Shane. Okay, I'll let you kind of do it. This is how I took it. I really don't want to. He's our most popular player. He's perfect. I love the guy, and he's going to the Eagles. It is kind of like he doesn't want to get himself immersed in making the decision because there has been over the years many people who have felt that he's been too hands-on and that he has allowed the wrong decisions to go on, or maybe he's made decisions because he has been, loyal to certain players, Eli Manning being one of them.
Yeah.
And now that loyalty here is showing up towards Saquon Barkley, at least verbally it is.
Yeah, and I think that John Mara 100% hears the criticism about him being too involved in the football stuff. So that benefits him as well to go in there, give his opinion, and it's not the opinion that ended up winning out in the room because Joe Shane and his guys did what they were allowed to do. John Mara didn't say, go and sign that guy. You have to. He just dropped a couple of hints here or there. Now, I know that Mike Lombardi went on with McAfee yesterday and absolutely slammed the Giants and Joe Shane and his staff and how do you allow all this access in there and show that the owner is unhappy and all of these things. And I don't know. To me, that seemed like a healthy general manager room where a owner could come in and express his opinion. Okay, sir, I hear you, but you hired me to do this job, and I'm going to do this job.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt like, they're giving Shane and Dabo a chance really to get the team where they want to get it. They just can't get the quarterback that they want, and that's been a real problem for them. So, I just Mike Lombardi agreed with me, however, that there's so many people in there. It's so many opinions. But
that's like every team, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but I don't necessarily know that it's opinion-based. I think the opinions are coming from people that are evaluating players that the Giants may be interested in or may be able to draft. They go into these in-depth investigations on these players. What are they like? What did they do? Were they in trouble in college? What did the high school coach say about them? All of these different aspects of reading into these players, and then these people bring their opinions about those players to the general manager, because the general manager has got to count on those people to really find the right players. And then he ultimately has to make the decision, are we drafting a need player or are we drafting just this great athlete that we'll figure out what to do with him when he gets here?
Yeah. I mean, I think most teams in the NFL have a massive amount of scouts and people in a room. I think it's just only the Jets that have the one person that runs the whole organization, and Aaron Rodgers. There's just one guy in the room.
And 5 guys getting them ayahuasca.
Yeah, right, yeah. So it's just him. They have the smallest decision-making room in the NFL. Just the one guy when he's around.
Then the question is, I mean, when is he going to sign or trade for Devontae Adams?
Yeah, hopefully sooner than later as that continues to churn.
I did see another kind of piece of speculation that does kind of make sense when I saw it. A ton of tenth. Now, it has nothing to do with the Jets. It has everything to do with the 49ers and the Raiders. Brandon Ayuk, very unhappy about a contract. Devontae Adams chasing a ring. It would be the perfect scenario for the Raiders to sign Brandon Ayuk to a long-term contract. They'd have their number one young guy, a part of the rebuild out there. And then Devontae Adams would be happy by going to the 49ers because now he would have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl ring.
Man, oh, man.
That kind of does make a ton of sense.
Man, let me tell you. I don't know. If they can't pay Brandon Ayuk, can they pay Devontae Adams?
Well,
would that
$16 million? Yeah, I think they could definitely fit that in there. Or they could, again, like I told you, because Devontae Adams, according to Spot Track, is scheduled to make $36 million next year. That's why the Raiders have to trade him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know
the Raiders are going to want something for him, and if they were able to acquire Brandon Ayuk and then give him a contract extension as a young man, a young player, reaching his potential, and then giving Devontae Adams an opportunity to go for a Super Bowl, I could think Devontae Adams would be happy with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and Ayuk's a very good player. I still think Devontae Adams is head and shoulders above him. You add him to that offense, my God.
But it's it's a money thing. It's a cap space thing. And, the one thing about John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan out in San Francisco, they just don't sit on their hands. They are willing to make mistakes, and they are willing to go after players. And we've seen that, and now they've caught a little bit of lightning in a bottle with Brock Purdy making no money.
Yeah.
And that helps because then you could start building around him, and they're going to have to give him a significant raise this year, so there's going to be some money going his way. I just don't know how much money's going his way. I don't know where they're starting that contract at.
Yeah, that'll be a fascinating one to pay attention to. All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. Jerry will join us just a couple minutes.